Heaven did not give birth to Liu Ruyan, making eternity feel like a long night. A reminder to all you godfathers out there, please follow and like. May you earn 5 million as soon as you step out, my fiancé said. She registered her marriage with another man to save his mother. She told me not to make a fuss, saying it's just a piece of paper. I nodded and poured her a glass of water. Good. Thanks for helping me clear the landmines in advance. She froze, while that man clutched the marriage certificate, pride unable to be hidden in his eyes. I looked at her with a smile, and said since it's just a piece of paper, then she's coming with me tonight. Don't mind it. The cafe's air conditioning was set too low. The glass was covered in a layer of condensation, crawling down the pane, dripping onto the back of my hand. I glanced down, and didn't wipe it. Liu Ruyan pushed a red booklet to the center of the table, her fingertips pressed against the cover. Her nails were neatly manicured. On her wrist, she still wore the bracelet I gave her last month. She said, Jai Boda, I've registered my marriage with Ito Cheng. My hand holding the cup stopped in midair. The bottom of the cup clinked against the table. A ripple spread across the surface of the water. Ito Cheng sat beside her. His white shirt was washed thin and old. His shoulders were slightly slumped. He was clutching a tissue in his hand. His eyes were downcast, looking as if a gust of wind could knock him over. But when his gaze slid from the red booklet to my face, the corner of his mouth twitched into a faint smirk, thinking to myself, whoa, look at this. My fiancée has come to receive her prize in front of me. I set the cup down steadily and asked when this happened. Liu Ruyan took a breath and replied, this morning. Registered the marriage in the morning and notified me in the afternoon. Quite efficient. He's not like you. Don't be so sarcastic. Ito Cheng's mother needs surgery. For hospital escort signatures and special assistance applications, the status of a family member is required. He had no other choice. Ito Cheng immediately lowered his head and said, Ruyan, don't argue with Senior Jai because of me. I shouldn't have been a burden to you both in the first place. As he spoke, he prepared to stand up. His foot scraped loudly against the floor tiles. Liu Ruyan reached out and pressed down on the back of his hand and said, sit down. I looked at that hand and laughed out loud. Liu Ruyan's face tightened. She asked me, what are you laughing at? Laughing at how good you are at saving people. Fire suppressed within her eyes. She said, Jai Boda, a human life is at stake. I asked, can marriage be used as a rescue tool too? She said, it's just a formality. I laughed. Registering a marriage is a formality. A marriage certificate is just a piece of paper. Spousal status is called helping out. Liu Ruyan, even your family's legal team would applaud you for that. She put the red booklet back into her bag. Her voice hardened. Can't you have a little empathy? You have everything. Ito Cheng has nothing. Ito Cheng immediately spoke up. Senior Jai, I really didn't intend to steal anything. Once my mother gets through this crisis, I will divorce Ruyan. I looked at him. Of course you didn't intend to steal anything. You just turned her into your wife. Ito Cheng's fingertips suddenly tightened. The tissue was crumpled into a ball. Liu Ruyan shielded him and said, it was my own choice. Then you're quite generous. She stared at me and added, Jai Boda, if you love me, you should trust me. I leaned back into the chair. The leather seat made a soft creaking sound. The bitterness of the coffee sank toward the back of my tongue. I originally wanted to ask her, the invitations for our engagement party have already been ordered. Did you think of me for a single second before registering that marriage? The words reached my lips, but I swallowed them back down. There's no point. She hands over the knife, and then asks if it hurts. This kind of person doesn't deserve an answer. I picked up my phone and sent a message to my father. Suspend the Liu family merger data. I'll explain why later. After sending it, I looked up at Liu Ruyan and said, fine. I understand. Liu Ruyan was stunned. She asked, what did you say? I smiled and repeated, I said, I understand. Ito Cheng was also taken aback. The smugness in his eyes froze. I picked up my cup and took a sip. The ice water slid down my throat. My stomach tightened with the cold. Saving a life. I support it. Liu Ruyan breathed a sigh of relief, but her fingers didn't move away from the back of Ito Cheng's hand. I looked at that hand. My tone became even flatter, since it's just a formality. Then our original relationship doesn't need to change either. She frowned and asked, "What do you mean?" I stood up, walked over to her side, bent down to pick up her bag, and rested my other hand on the back of her chair, leaning very close to her. Liu Ruyan's breathing hitched for a moment. Ito Cheng suddenly looked up and asked, "Senior Jai, what are you doing?" I tilted my head to look at him and said, "Taking my girlfriend home." Ito Cheng's face turned a shade paler. He said, "She is now my legal wife." I nodded. "Didn't you just say it was just a formality?" His lips moved, but he couldn't find a response. I picked up Liu Ruyan's coat and draped it over her shoulders. My knuckles brushed against her neck. Her body stiffened. Her fingers instinctively gripped the edge of the table. I asked in a low voice, "Shall we go?" Liu Ruyan wanted to refuse, but the words stopped as she glanced at Ito Cheng. In the end, she stood up. Ito Cheng stood up abruptly as well and said, "Ruyan, your presence is still needed at my mother's side tonight." I smiled, spinning the car keys on the tip of my finger. "Mr. Ito, you're the husband. You go and watch over her." His eyes immediately welled with tears. "I'm afraid I can't handle it alone." "If you can't handle it, then learn from me." I led Liu Ruyan to the door and looked back at him. "Someone else's wife. I'll take my turn with her then. Since you think that piece of paper isn't important, don't keep such a tight watch." The cafe went silent for a few seconds. The sound of a spoon from the next table clinked against the rim of a cup. Ito Cheng's face turned from white to a sickly green. His fingers pressed hard against the table. Liu Ruyan suddenly tugged at my sleeve and said, "Jai Boda, don't say such unpleasant things." I looked down at her and asked, "Is it unpleasant?" She opened her mouth. I helped her button her coat. My fingertip stopped at the second button, pressing it lightly. I said, "When you were taking care of business, it was far more unpleasant than this." The moment the car door closed, Liu Ruyan finally exploded. "Jai Boda, what did you mean just now? Did you have to humiliate Ito Cheng to his face?" I started the car. The wipers swept across the windshield. The streetlights were stretched into long streaks by the rain. "I humiliated him. His mother is still in the hospital. And you talk to him like that?" I looked straight ahead and said, "Did you think about how to tell me when you registered the marriage?" She was silent for a few seconds. Her tone softened. "I was afraid you wouldn't agree, so I acted first and reported later. I had no other way." Liu Ruyan, there are many ways. Hire a lawyer, hire a caregiver, find a hospital social worker, find a foundation, ask your parents, ask me. I slammed on the brakes. The red light reflected on the car window. Her face was bathed in a layer of red light. "But you chose to get married." Her throat moved. "Ito Cheng didn't want to owe you anything." I laughed. "So he's allowed to owe you a marriage instead." She turned her face away, fingertips gripping the edge of the seatbelt. Her phone rang. She took a look, but didn't answer the call. I caught a glimpse of the screen. Ito Cheng's call stopped. A message immediately popped up. Ito Cheng sent, "Ruyan, I'm fine. Don't worry about me. Senior Jai might just be feeling too much pain." Another one. "If he really can't accept this, then stay with him. I can handle being at the hospital alone." Liu Ruyan clutched her phone, wanting to reply but hesitating. I let out a laugh. Reply to him. She bit her lip and said, "Don't be like this." "Like what?" "Don't use that tone." I turned the steering wheel. The car drove into the garage beneath my apartment building. She froze and asked, "What did you bring me here for? Didn't you say our relationship doesn't have to change?" The garage light swept across the car roof frame by frame. The air smelled of damp concrete. Tires rolled over the ground, splashing softly through the puddles. Liu Ruyan sat up straight and said, "Jai Boda, today is not convenient for me." I parked the car, unbuckled my seatbelt, and leaned toward her. Her back pressed against the seat, her breath hitched. I tucked a strand of hair behind her ear for her. My thumb brushed against her earlobe. Her hand suddenly grabbed my wrist. "What are you doing? What are you afraid of?" Her eyes grew frantic. "Ito Chang has a special status now." I laughed. "Special in what way?" "A piece of paper." Her expression changed. I pulled away, opened the car door, and said, "Get out." She didn't move. "Jai Boda, are you getting revenge on me?" I propped myself against the car door and looked at her. Replied, "Yes, I am." She was stunned, because I spoke so bluntly. She was left speechless. I added with a smile, "You've given away your marriage. Can't I collect a little interest?" Her eyes turned red as she said, "You weren't like this before. Before, you weren't someone else's wife either." Her shoulders trembled. The phone rang again. I reached out and took her phone. She tried to grab it, but I raised my hand high. She lunged forward. Her fingertips brushed my collar. She almost crashed into my arms. I looked down at her. She held her breath, her pulse quickening. The car cabin was narrow. The scents of perfume, rain, and leather were crowded together. Her hand was pressed against my chest, wanting to push away but not immediately applying force. I asked in a low voice, "Are you going to answer it?" She swallowed hard and commanded, "Give it back to me." I pressed the answer button and turned on the speakerphone. Ito Cheng's voice came through the phone, sounding on the verge of tears. "Ruyan, where are you? My mom just woke up. She keeps calling your name." Liu Ruyan was about to speak, but I pressed my finger against her lips. She glared at me, her breath hitting my knuckles. I spoke into the phone, "She's with me." The other end of the line went silent. Ito Cheng's voice tightened. "Senior Jai, let Ruyan answer the phone. She's not available right now." Liu Ruyan grabbed my hand. She tried to pull me away, but I didn't let go. Ito Cheng got anxious. "Don't do anything reckless. She's already registered her marriage with me." I burst out laughing. "Mr. Ito, your words are completely contradictory. If you acknowledge this marriage, then she is your wife. It's inappropriate for you to let her accompany her ex-boyfriend." His breathing became erratic. "If you don't acknowledge it, then don't worry about where she is right now." Liu Ruyan finally managed to pull my hand down. She shouted, "Jai Zusheng." I handed the phone to her. She took it, but she didn't explain to Ito Cheng by saying, "I'll go to the hospital later." Ito Cheng's voice was very low. "Are you staying at his place tonight, Ruyan?" Liu Ruyan glanced at me. I leaned against the car door and raised an eyebrow. She gripped the phone and said, "I'm just here to talk things out." Ito Cheng said, "But I am your husband." I smiled and interjected, "If you're her husband, go pay the bills. Don't just know how to make phone calls." Static noise came from the other end. It sounded like Ito Cheng had thrown something. Liu Ruyan hung up the phone. She turned to look at me. "Have you had enough?" I leaned in close to her. My voice softened near her ear. "Liu Ruyan, she just got the title of your husband and already started controlling your whereabouts. Do you see it now?" Her lips turned pale. She said nothing, and I stepped back. I opened the car door for her. "Let's go upstairs. Let's talk about how much that piece of paper is worth." The lights in my living room weren't all on. Rain slanted against the window outside. Water streaks were left on the glass. Liu Ruyan sat on the edge of the sofa. Her hands were clasped together. The bracelet dangled by her wrist bone. It swayed gently. When I bought that bracelet, she said she would always wear it. Now, it looked quite eyesore. I took 2 bottles of water from the fridge. I tossed one to her. She didn't catch it steadily. The bottle rolled to her feet. It bumped against the leg of the coffee table. "Jai Zuzheng, let's not be like this. Like what? You know clearly that Ito Chang and I only did it for an emergency. I sat opposite her and asked, then tell me, to what extent was it an emergency? That you had to register a marriage? She looked up and said, his mother needs to apply for spouse-based family hardship subsidies. She needs proof of immediate family members. Ito Chang has no close relatives. As for signing hospital surgery forms, an adult child can sign those. She froze for a moment. Then she said, but he was afraid of taking responsibility. I laughed. Afraid of taking responsibility. So he found you to be his wife and take it for him? Her eyes flickered. I continued to ask, regarding the special aid application materials. Who told you about that? Liu Ruyan. Have you even read the original policy? She didn't speak. Have you checked his mother's medical insurance status? Her fingers tightened. Have you asked him who he owes money to? She looked up and asked, do you suspect he's lying to me? I spread my hands and said, I suspect your brain was used by him to pad the hospital bed. She suddenly stood up. She shouted, Chai Zhusheng. I also stood up. I walked up to her. Why are you yelling at me? The one who got married was you. The one who lied to the family was you. The one who ruined our engagement plans was also you. Tears shimmered in her eyes. She said, I didn't mean to ruin things for you. Whether you meant to or not doesn't change the result. I picked up the draft of the engagement invitation from the coffee table. I threw it in front of her. The pages scattered. The gold-stamped letters glinted coldly under the light. Liu Ruyan bent down to pick them up. Her hand trembled. I looked at her and said, our two families' cooperation is set to be signed next week. Once the news of your marriage reaches my father, how do you think the Liu family will explain it? Her face changed instantly. I can divorce Ito Chang as soon as possible, but the marriage registration record cannot be erased. Her voice grew faint. Chai Zhusheng, I really didn't think that far ahead. You just wanted to be a savior. As those words hit home, her gaze finally crumbled. The phone rang again. She saw Ito Chang's name. She declined the call immediately. The next second, Ito Chang sent a photo. A hospital corridor. The pale light of Enrollment 4 stand. He was sitting on a bench. His sleeve was soaked. The caption read, I don't blame anyone. I only blame myself for being incompetent. Liu Ruyan stared at the screen. A struggle appeared on her face. I reached out and snatched the phone away. She tried to grab it back, but I held the phone up high. My other hand pinned her wrist. She bumped into my chest. The fabric of our clothes rubbed together. Our breathing became tangled. Chai Zhusheng, stop it. I'm the one stopping it. I looked down at her. Your husband is sending selfies in the middle of the night seeking comfort, while you are standing in my living room. And you say I'm stopping it. She pushed me hard. She said, don't call him that. I laughed. It's legal. Is husband the wrong term? She gritted her teeth. Do you have to keep stabbing me with your words? I let go of her. I dialed Ito Chang's number. Liu Ruyan was so scared she lunged forward. I held her shoulders. I pressed her back onto the sofa. The call connected. Ito Chang's voice was hoarse. Ruyan. I said, it's me. His breathing stopped on the other end. Chai Zhusheng. Give her phone back to her. She's in the shower. Liu Ruyan's eyes widened. She reached out to cover my mouth. I tilted my head to avoid her. Her fingers brushed past my jaw. Her fingertips were trembling. Ito Chang's voice turned shrill. What did you say? I smiled slowly. Didn't you say it was just a piece of paper? Don't get excited. A thud came from the other end of the phone. It sounded like a chair falling over. Ito Chang lowered his voice. Chai Zhusheng, don't go too far. The ones who went too far are the ones who started this. I hung up the phone. I tossed the phone back onto the sofa. Liu Ruyan's chest was heaving with anger. You did that on purpose. Yes. You want to force him to break down. Isn't he the vulnerable one? I want to see just how vulnerable he can get. She grabbed her bag to leave. I didn't stop her. I only said, if you go back now, He will hold you and cry. He will say he shouldn't be alive. He will make you feel like the whole world is bullying him. Her footsteps halted. I walked to the entrance. I opened the door. Go ahead, Savior. She stood at the door. Her hand was on the doorknob. She wanted to leave but didn't take a step. The light from the corridor shone on her face. It was pale and empty. I said, Liu Ruyan, if you step out tonight, I will send your marriage records to my father. The alliance, the cooperation, the engagement, all stopped. She turned to look at me. She asked, are you threatening me? It's not a threat. It's a notice. Her tears finally fell. They hit the back of her hand. I closed the door. I spoke coldly. Now sit back down. Tell me every single word Ito Cheng has ever said to you from the beginning. The next morning, the school forum exploded. A thread title was pinned on the homepage. The screenshot showed the backs of me and Liu Ruyan entering the apartment. The caption was written harshly. Wealthy young master bullies the poor. Knowing that the other party's mother is critically ill, he still forcibly took his wife away. The comments below were being refreshed page after page. Some called me cold-blooded. Some called Liu Ruyan unfaithful. Others posted a photo of Ito Cheng in the hospital room. They said he didn't sleep all night. He leaned against the corridor waiting for his wife to return. I sat by the window in the cafeteria. I was happily reading while eating a bun. People around me were peeking at me. The sound of chopsticks hitting bowls became quieter. My buddy Chen Zi sat opposite me. He asked, you can still eat? I pushed the phone toward him. I said, it's well written. Full of emotion. Chen Zi cursed. This post most likely wasn't made by Ito Cheng himself. He's not that stupid. Chen Zi looked around. He asked, then who was it? I picked up a piece of fried egg. His roommate, I said. Or some sympathy fans he found. Just as I finished speaking, Liu Ruyan rushed into the cafeteria. She didn't sleep well last night. There were dark circles under her eyes. Her hair was tied very tightly. She slammed the phone down in front of me. She said, have you seen the forum? I've seen it. Why don't you clarify things? I looked up and asked, clarify what? Clarify that you indeed registered a marriage with him, and indeed came home with me. She choked up, and the surroundings went quiet. Ito Cheng walked in through the door. 2 classmates were with him. His face was pale. He held a hospital payment slip in his hand. His shoulders were slumped as he walked. Yet, every step was headed toward us. Liu Ruyan wanted to go over to him. I reached out and grabbed her wrist. She struggled for a bit. She shouted, Chai Zuzheng. Let go. I didn't let go. I said, sit down. Ito Cheng stood before the table. His voice was light and airy. Chai Zuzheng, I wasn't the one who posted that on the forum. Don't blame Ruyan. I laughed. You're quite good at assigning responsibility. He lowered his eyes and continued. I know you look down on me, but my mother really needs someone to take care of her. I can't lose Ruyan. People around us began to whisper. I swallowed the bun. I wiped my hands with a tissue. Ito Cheng, have you paid your mother's hospital deposit for today? He was stunned. What? As a husband, you should know the state of the family account, right? Ito Cheng's face tightened. I'm thinking of a way. The way is to let Liu Ruyan pay for you. Liu Ruyan frowned. She said, I lent the money voluntarily. I turned to look at her. I asked, where is the IOU? She went silent. I looked back at Ito Cheng. I asked again, none. Without an IOU, it's not a loan. It's considered joint marital living expenses. Ito Cheng's gaze panicked for a moment. He said, I'll pay it back. I picked up my phone and continued, then write the promissory note now. 376,000 for the hospital deposit. Examination fees, caregiver fees, assistance materials, notary fees. Write them down one by one. Ito Cheng's lips were pale. Jai Zhusheng, why must you force me in public? When you posted on the forum, didn't you also like doing things in public? The classmate next to him spoke up. Jai Boda. His mother is critically ill. Even if you're rich, you shouldn't bully people like this, right? I smiled and looked at him. What's your name? He was taken aback. He spoke, Du Zeiting. Okay, Du Zeiting. Since you're so loyal, you will be the guarantor for this promissory note. He shut up immediately. A few low laughs broke out in the cafeteria. Ito Cheng's hands began to tremble. I took a printed template out of my bag. I slammed it onto the table. Then I handed him a pen. Aren't you her husband? A husband should shoulder his responsibilities. Don't just enjoy the status. Ito Cheng didn't take the pen. His eyes slowly turned red. Ruhyun. I really didn't expect Senior Jai to humiliate me like this. Liu Ruhyun glanced at me. Then she looked at Ito Cheng. In the past, he would have immediately shielded her. This time, he only said, Ito Cheng. You really should write down the money clearly. Ito Cheng froze completely. I smiled with satisfaction. Look. The savior's glow is starting to flicker. Ito Cheng lowered his head. His fingers gripped the payment bag. The paper bag was pinched until it tore. He took the pen. When he reached the amount field, the nib tore through the paper. I leaned over to look at him. I said, don't tremble. My legitimate husband. He looked up abruptly. A trace of hatred finally surfaced in his eyes. I winked at him. To tell him not to be afraid. I'm just helping you get into character. The IOU was finished. The forum didn't quiet down. Instead, it grew more heated. A new post claimed I was forcing the family of a critically ill patient to sell their bodies to pay off debts. It claimed Liu Ruyan was under my control. It claimed Ito Cheng was suffering in silence for his mother. I opened the comments. I saw a bunch of people lining up to curse me, and Chen Zi was so angry he wanted to hire someone to track down the accounts posting these. I stopped him. I said, don't rush, it's not time yet. Your reputation is almost ruined. It's better if it's a bit ruined. He looked at me and asked, are you crazy? I put my phone in my pocket and said, it's been a while since I was. In the afternoon, Liu Ruyan asked me to go to the hospital. She said Ito Cheng's mother wanted to see me. I agreed. The ward was on the 13th floor of the inpatient building. The smell of disinfectant in the hallway pierced right into my nasal cavity. The elevator entrance was crowded with family members. The rustling of plastic bags. The sound of wheelchairs rolling across the floor. A creaking noise. Ito Cheng was standing at the door of the ward. When he saw me, his expression visibly stiffened. Senior Jai is here too. I lifted the fruit basket in my hand. I said, visiting the mother-in-law. Her complexion turned pale. She shouted, stop talking nonsense. You and Liu Ruyan are legally married. Of course, your mother is considered her mother-in-law. The two nurses nearby looked over. Ito Cheng lowered his voice. My mother isn't doing well. Don't provoke her. I nodded. Then don't provoke me. Liu Ruyan frowned. She called out, Jai Boda. I handed her the fruit basket and told her to go inside. The woman on the hospital bed was sallow, and Roman 4 needle was in her wrist. The checkup report was hanging on the head of the bed. When she saw Liu Ruyan, she immediately reached out. Ruyan, I've put you through so much. Auntie has been a burden to you. Liu Ruyan walked over to support her and said, Auntie, please don't say that. Tears spilled from the woman's eyes. A Cheng has such a hard life. Meeting you is his blessing. I stood at the foot of the bed, looking at the aunt. I noticed her other hand quietly reaching to the side of the pillow, stuffing a bill into the quilt. I smiled. Auntie, let me see the payment bill. The aunt's hand paused. Ito Cheng immediately blocked me. He asked, Jai Boda, why are you looking into this? To see how miserable you are. The ward went quiet. Liu Ruyan looked at Ito Cheng. She said, show it to him. Ito Cheng didn't move. I reached out, but the aunt held onto the bill tightly. Her knuckles turned white. A nurse nearby said in a low voice, wasn't a portion of this reimbursed yesterday? Ito Cheng glared at her suddenly. The nurse was so scared she shut her mouth. I raised an eyebrow and asked, reimbursed. The aunt started coughing. I don't know. It was all handled by A. Cheng. Ito Cheng held her steady. His voice was tight. Mom, don't speak. I took out my phone to take a picture of the patient's ID card. Ito Cheng rushed over to block me. You can't film a patient's privacy. I put my phone away. Fine, I won't. He breathed a sigh of relief. I looked at Liu Ruyan and said, go check at the billing office yourself. As a family member. She was stunned. Ito Cheng's face changed. Ruyan, there's no need. Senior Jai just doesn't believe me. I smiled. Correct. I don't believe you. Liu Ruyan stood where she was. Her fingers gripped her bag strap tight. Ito Cheng's voice was hoarse. Ruyan, can't you even trust me? She looked at him, as if she had been stung by those words. I didn't try to persuade her. I just walked to her side. I took his fingertips and gently pinched his palm. Whether you go or not is your choice. Ito Cheng stared at our hands. The corners of his eyes turned red. Liu Ruyan pulled away slightly, but didn't break free. I leaned close to her ear. I lowered my voice. The more he tries to stop you, the more there is to hide. His breathing turned ragged. A few seconds later, he pulled his hand from my palm. He turned and walked toward the billing office. Ito Cheng tried to chase after her. I blocked his path. He finally tore off that soft facade. He said, Jai Boda, do you have to force people to their deaths? I laughed. Are you willing to die? He gritted his teeth. I patted his shoulder and said, don't be impatient. The game has just begun. The lights at the billing window were deathly pale. The glass separated the human voices. The sound of the printer hitting the paper knocked against my eardrums. Liu Ruyan held her ID and marriage certificate, checking the detailed payment history. She stood very straight at first. When she saw the third page, her shoulders slowly slumped. I didn't crowd her. I let her see it for herself. She returned to the hallway with the paper. There was no color on her face. Ito Cheng went to meet her and said, Ruyan, listen to me. Let me explain. She handed the statement over and asked, your mother has employee medical insurance and a critical illness subsidy. It's already been partially approved. Why did you tell me? It was all self-pay. Ito Cheng's eyes flickered. I was afraid the later costs wouldn't be covered. You said the surgery deposit was short 400,000. The doctor said it might cost more. The statement shows 120,000 was refunded yesterday. Ito Cheng's throat bobbed. I intended to take it to pay off debts. Otherwise, the debt collectors would have come to the hospital to cause a scene. The paper in Liu Ruyan's hand was wrinkled by her grip. Why didn't you tell me you were in debt? Ito Cheng's tears fell quickly. I was afraid you would look down on me. I really had no choice. My mom is sick. My dad ran away. I can't carry it all alone. He reached to pull her hand. Liu Ruyan wanted to dodge but stopped. I leaned against the wall. Seeing that momentary pause, I smiled. Ito Cheng seized the opportunity. His voice grew even softer. Ruyan, I only have you left. I spoke up. You also have a legal marriage. His eyes narrowed. Jai Boda, can you stop interfering? No. I walked over. I took the statement from Liu Ruyan's hand. I scanned it. 120,000 refunded. Where was it transferred? Ito Cheng kept quiet. I told Liu Ruyan to check the account. She hesitated. This involves his privacy. I laughed out loud. You're already married to him. And you're talking about privacy. His face turned white. Ito Cheng immediately said, Ruyan, don't listen to his provocations. I slammed the statement against Ito Cheng's chest. I'll give you two choices. Tell me yourself, or I'll have my lawyer go through the legal process to find out. He gritted his teeth. What right do you have? The right of the 376,000 you owe Liu Ruyan. The IOU was written just this morning. Ito Cheng's lips trembled. At the other end of the hallway, the aunt came out, leaning against the wall. Her face was sickly, but she shouted shrilly, Don't force my son. Can rich people just stomp poor people to death? Several family members gathered around. The aunt clutched her chest. Her body began to slide down. Ito Cheng hurriedly supported her. Someone in the crowd raised their phone. Liu Ruyan's face changed. She shouted, "Don't record." The aunt cried out, "Ruyan, if you regret it, just leave. Andy won't drag you down. But you can't let outsiders trample on us like this." Once Ito Cheng said this, everyone's eyes fell on me. I slowly raised my phone. Ito Cheng was startled. He asked, "What are you doing?" I pressed play. The nurse's words from earlier in the room. Wasn't a portion of this reimbursed yesterday? It rang out clearly. Then Ito Cheng's low voice, "Mom, don't speak." The hallway went quiet. The aunt's crying stuck in her throat. I turned off the recording. I looked at the onlookers with a smile and said, "Keep recording. Don't stop." The lady who was holding up her phone silently put it down. Liu Ruyan looked at Ito Cheng. Her voice was very soft. "How many more things are you lying to me about?" Ito Cheng's eyes were bloodshot. He suddenly turned to me. "It's you who forced me. If it weren't for you targeting me, how would I have been afraid?" I applauded. The clapping was sharp and jarring in the hallway. Well slapped. I walked up to him. I looked down at him. "It's a pity you didn't aim right." Ito Cheng's tears hung from his chin. His whole body was shaking violently. I smiled and said, "Next time you try to counterattack, remember to bring something real." Ito Cheng didn't let me down. 2 days later, he released a screenshot of a chat. In the screenshot, I sent him a message, "Your mom is dead. And you aren't worthy of Liu Ruyan either." The image was crudely made, but the emotion it provoked was sufficient. The forum exploded again. Someone turned my photo into a black and white funeral portrait. They hung it in the post and cursed me. Chen Zi laughed in anger after seeing it. "People actually believe this." I said, "Of course they believe it. People only believe what they want to curse." When Liu Ruyan came to find me, she was holding the screenshot. Her complexion was gray. She asked, "Did you send this message?" I leaned against the basketball court fence. Sweat slid down my neck. My sneakers stepped on the plastic surface. Heat steamed up from the ground. I took a towel and wiped my hands. I asked, "Do you hope I did?" Her eyes trembled as she said, "I don't know." I nodded. "Then let's just leave it at that." I tossed the towel into my bag. As I head out, he chases after me to explain, "Jai Boda. That's not what I meant." I stop and turn to look at him. "Liu Ruyan, you've already trusted him once." He clutches the screenshot tightly and says, "But these words are too vicious." "So, you think I'm the one who said them?" His lips quiver. I smile and say, "Fine." His face turns even paler. "Don't smile. Otherwise, what? Should I cry for you to see?" I continue walking forward. He follows me. The hallway smells of water from the freshly mopped floor. My shoe soles press down, emitting a squeaking sound. I take him to the school's network center. Chen Zi is already waiting there. Standing beside him are the counselor and the IT department teacher. Liu Ruyan freezes. I hand my phone to the teacher and say, "Teacher, please, could you retrieve the back-end login records?" I then open the image forensics software. Traces of the screenshot's manipulation appear on the screen. The timestamps are misaligned, and there are compression artifacts around the profile picture edges. The counselor frowns. This image is fake. The paper in Liu Ruyan's hand slips to the floor. I don't look at him. I only ask the teacher, "What about the account that posted it?" The teacher points to the screen. It matches. The dormitory network login device is Ito Cheng's laptop. A sound comes from the doorway. Ito Cheng is standing there. He hasn't had time to mask the expression on his face. Behind him are 2 other students. They probably came here expecting to see me fall from grace. Now, they are all frozen in the doorway. The counselor says in a deep voice, "Ito Cheng, explain yourself." Ito Cheng's eyes turn red instantly. "Teacher, my laptop was used by someone else." I don't know anything about it. I smile and say, don't rush. I pull out a printout and hand it to the counselor. This is a notarized preservation report I had my lawyer prepare. Last night, that account uploaded another audio clip. The IP address, device fingerprint, and browser cache are all in there. All the color drains from Ito Cheng's face. Liu Ruyan looks at him and asks, was it really you? Ito Cheng shakes his head, defending himself. No. Ruyan, you have to believe me. Duteng used my computer to post it. He claims he couldn't stand Jai Boda. I can't stop Duteng, who is standing behind him, with his face turning green. Ito Cheng, don't talk nonsense. Ito Cheng turns and roars. If not you, then who? You even said yesterday you wanted to get back at him for me. Duteng grabs him by the collar, demanding, you were the one who asked me to take the fall for you. And now you're throwing me under the bus. The two of them start scuffling. A chair is knocked over. The metal legs scrape against the floor, piercingly loud to the ears. The counselor slams the table and shouts, enough. Liu Ruyan stands where she is, her fingers trembling. I walk over, pick up the fake screenshot he dropped on the floor, and stuff it back into his hand. Just keep it, I said. He looked up, his eyes filled with panic. I'm telling you, this is the second time you've chosen him. He tried to grab my sleeve. I stepped aside to avoid him. His hand froze in midair. Then it slowly dropped to his side. The university issued a disciplinary warning to Ito Cheng. They posted a public reprimand for his erratic behavior. They also scrubbed the viral posts and photos from the forum. But I didn't plan on stopping there. Because I hadn't fully uncovered the real reason Ito Cheng got that marriage certificate yet. I had my lawyer look into the application process for financial aid and discover Ito Cheng had submitted a document proving joint hardship for spouses. It stated that Liu Ruyan had no fixed income, that her family refused to support her, and that the couple was heavily in debt. When Liu Ruyan saw those documents, her face turned pale. I never signed this. I pointed at the signature line and said, a pretty decent forgery. He picked up the paper. His fingers lingered on his own name for a long time. He used my identity to apply for funds. It gets worse. I flipped to the next page. He also applied for the Alumni Charity Fund. The reason stated was that his new wife is being harassed by a wealthy ex, and that the mental stress makes it impossible for him to carry on. Liu Ruyan closed her eyes. I laughed. You've been quite busy in his stories, haven't you? Being a wife, being a tragic figure, and being a victim of mine, all at once. He didn't laugh. In these past few days, it was as if he had been stripped of his composure. In the past, when he looked at Ito Cheng, there was always a sense of condescending pity in his eyes. Now, that veneer had completely shattered. Underneath was nothing but humiliation. Watching him feel humiliated, I felt quite good. He asked, when did you start investigating this? The day you got the marriage certificate. He looked up, so. That night you asked me to repeat everything he had said. It was to investigate him. What else? His throat moved as he swallowed. I thought you still cared about me. I closed the file, looking at him with a smile. Liu Ruyan, you can't have everything. His eyes reddened. His fingers gripped the edge of the table. Jai Boda, is there really no way for us anymore? I retorted. Does your husband know you're asking me this? He flinched as if stung. His phone rang. It was Liu Fu. He picked it up and hadn't said more than 2 words. When his expression darkened further, I could hear the fury coming from the other end of the line. Get home immediately. The record of your marriage to Ito Cheng has already affected our partnership review. Yijia has suspended the contract. You explain this to the board yourself. After the call ended, Liu Ruyan couldn't even stand steadily. I reached out to steady her for a second. She looked up at me, a glimmer of hope suddenly appearing in her eyes. I let go, and her hands grasped at empty air. I said, don't misunderstand. The carpet is quite expensive. If you break it, you can't afford to pay for it. The light in his eyes flickered and died. That evening, Ito Cheng came looking for me. He stood downstairs at my apartment building. He was drenched in the rain. His hair was plastered against his forehead. In his hand, he clutched that notice of disciplinary action. Are you satisfied now, Jai Boda? I held up my umbrella and walked toward him. About average, I replied. He gritted his teeth and said, You have money and power. Destroying me is easy for you. Spare me that act. I tilted the umbrella further toward my side. Rainwater trickled off the edge and splashed onto his shoulders. You forged a signature. You obtained aid by deception. You spread rumors. None of these things were done by me on your behalf. His eyes turned vicious. I just wanted to survive. You want to live, so everyone else should be your stepping stone. He clenched his fists, ready to swing. Then he spotted the surveillance camera behind me. His hand froze in midair. I laughed. You're quite sober-minded. Not stupid enough to throw a punch. His face contorted. I leaned in close to him. I lowered my voice. Ito Cheng, don't you want to be a husband? I've reserved a seat for you at the Liu family board meeting tomorrow. His pupils constricted. I added, Go. Make sure you attend. The Liu family board meeting was held on the top floor. The long table in the conference room was polished until it shone. Steam from the tea drifted upward. The projector on the wall hummed continuously. Liu Ruyan sat on the right side. She had no makeup on. The bracelet on her wrist was still there. When Ito Cheng was brought in by security, his clothes were rumpled. There were dark circles under his eyes. He saw the room full of people. His steps faltered noticeably. Liu Fu slammed the table and asked, So you're Ito Cheng? Ito Cheng lowered his head and started, Uncle. Ruyan and I, it was only to save my mother. Liu Fu sneered, Who are you calling uncle? According to the certificate, you should be calling me Dad. Someone in the conference room coughed. Ito Cheng's face flushed red. Li Ruyan whispered something. Liu Fu turned to look at her. He barked, Shut up. I sat across from them, slowly flipping through the documents. Liu Fu looked at me. He asked, Jai Boda, what does the Jai family say about this? I pushed the file toward him. The cooperation is suspended, I said. The engagement is cancelled. We will discuss subsequent compensation according to the contract terms. Liu Ruyan looked up abruptly. She shouted, Jai Boda. I looked at him and asked, Yes. His lips trembled slightly. He asked me, Are you really going to cancel the engagement? I laughed. You are married. What am I supposed to be engaged to? Someone else's wife. His face turned deathly pale. Ito Cheng suddenly spoke up, Jai Zuzhang. Isn't your goal just to force Ruyan to come back to you? She already knows she was wrong. Why drag the two companies' cooperation into this? I looked at him. My smile deepened. You're still negotiating benefits on her behalf. He bit the bullet and said, I am her husband. Of course I have the right. Fine, I pushed another file in front of him. Since you acknowledge your status as her husband, there are a few things here. Sign them. Ito Cheng looked down. His expression slowly changed. Item 1. Confirmation. During the subsistence of the marriage between him and Liu Ruyan, the liability for any debts incurred belongs to him. Item 2. Confirmation of a loan of 376,000 yuan for his mother's medical expenses. Item 3. Confirmation of forging Liu Ruyan's signature to apply for aid. The resulting legal liability shall be borne by him personally. Item 4. Cooperate with the Liu family to provide a statement regarding reputational damage. Ito Cheng's fingers trembled. I can't sign this. I raised an eyebrow and asked, The husband doesn't have the right to sign. She gritted her teeth. This is not the same thing. Liu Fu stood up. He slapped his hand on the table. He asked, Then what is the same thing? When you used my daughter's identity to apply for money, why didn't you say it wasn't the same thing then? Ito Cheng panicked. I had no malicious intent. I was just borrowing it for a moment. Liu Fu laughed out of anger. Borrowing the marriage. Borrowing the signature. Borrowing my daughter's reputation. Are you borrowing things? Or are you skinning us alive? Tears started falling down Edo Cheng's face. My mother was sick. I really had no other choice. I placed a bank statement under the projector. On the screen, 120,000 yuan of the medical funds were returned. Half was transferred to an online lending account. Half was transferred to someone named Shu Tingting. The conference room fell silent. Liu Ruyan stared at the name. She asked, "Who is Shu Tingting?" Edo Cheng's lips trembled. "A casual friend." I pressed the button for the next page. A photo popped up. Edo Cheng and Shu Tingting holding hands at the mall entrance. Shu Tingting was carrying a new designer bag. Liu Ruyan's bracelet clinked against her cup. Asterisk ding dot asterisk. His voice sounded dry as he asked, "Is this the debt you were talking about?" Edo Cheng lunged forward to turn off the projector, but he was held down by security. He shouted, "She borrowed it from me. I was just paying her back." I laughed. "You really know how to cherish your lover." Liu Ruyan stood up. Her chair tipped backward. It crashed onto the floor. "Edo Cheng, you registered for marriage with me. Was it to save your mother? Or to use my identity and my money to provide for someone else?" Edo Cheng shook his head while crying. "It's not like that. Ruyan, let me explain. I broke up with her a long time ago." I pressed play on the recording on my phone. Shu Tingting's voice came through the speakers. "Didn't you say Liu Ruyan's family is rich? Will he pave the way for you after getting the marriage certificate? When are you getting a divorce?" Edo Cheng's voice followed immediately. "Wait until he gets the relief funds approved. And then squeeze some more out of Jai Boda. I'll get a divorce then." Liu Ruyan swayed on her feet. I didn't reach out to steady her. She grabbed the edge of the table. Her fingernails scraped against the wood. Edo Cheng slumped onto the floor, muttering to himself, "That's not how it is." "It's not." I walked up to him. I squatted down and placed the marriage certificate in his hands. "Hold on to it," I said. He looked up, his face smeared with tears. I smiled and said, "You won. This is your wife." Li Ruyan vomited right there on the spot. She rushed into the restroom. The door wasn't fully closed. The sound of retching came from inside. The faucet was running loudly. I stood in the hallway and didn't go in. Liu Ruyan's father glanced at me. The anger on his face subsided slightly. "Jai Boda, this is the Liu family's fault. We've let you down." I said, "Let's talk about the compensation." He nodded, not bothering to beg for his daughter. When adults break a contract, money is the only thing that speaks. Results are how you pay off debts. Fair enough. Edo Cheng was escorted by security to outside the meeting room. He collapsed against the wall. He was still clutching the marriage certificate in his hand. He saw me. He crawled over and grabbed the hem of my trousers. "Jai Zhuzhang, I was wrong. I'll pay you back the money. Please, tell the Liu family not to sue me." I looked down at him. "Pay me back?" I asked. He froze. "You owe that to Liu Ruyan, not me." He immediately turned toward the restroom. He shouted, "Ruyan, Ruyan, you have to save me. My mother can't live without me." Liu Ruyan came out, holding onto the doorframe. Her face was ash-gray. Her lips were covered in water. She looked at Edo Cheng. Her eyes filled with nothing but disgust. Edo Cheng crawled toward her. He begged, "Ruyan, let's get a divorce. I'll do it right now. Please, don't hold me accountable, okay?" I laughed. "Want a divorce now?" He clutched the marriage certificate, his fingers trembling uncontrollably. "I don't want it anymore. I really don't want it anymore." "That won't do." He was stunned. I squatted down to look him in the eyes. "This piece of paper isn't something you can just take and discard whenever you feel like it." His teeth chattered. He asked, "What do you want?" "Follow the legal process," Liu Ruyan said. Her voice was raspy and grating. "Forging signatures to defraud relief funds. Malicious slander. I will call the police. And I will file a lawsuit." Edo Cheng looked up, as if seeing her for the first time. "Ruyan, you can't do this. My mother is still sick." Liu Ruyan's shoulders trembled slightly, but she didn't back down. Your mother's illness is real, but the fact that you used her as a tool is also real. Ito Cheng's expression changed instantly. He suddenly lunged to grab her skirt. Liu Ruyan stepped back. She lost her footing, so I reached out and pulled him away. I dragged him behind me. Ito Cheng lunged into empty air and hit his forehead against the corner of the wall. A dull thud echoed. Blood seeped from his brow bone. He covered his forehead, sitting on the ground, letting out small, whimpering sobs. Security guards stepped forward and held him down. He struggled and screamed, "Jai Boda, it's all your fault. If you hadn't investigated me, I wouldn't have ended up like this." I watched him. The blood from his forehead streamed down his face, dripping onto the cover of the marriage certificate. "Ito Cheng, you should really thank me." He gasped for air. "I said I would give you the most respectable thing in your life. Which is this certificate." He broke down. He grabbed the marriage certificate and slammed it against the floor, then scrambled to pick it back up, muttering divorce over and over again. I want a divorce. I don't want it anymore. People in the hallway were all staring at him. Du Zaiting, who used to speak up for him, stood by the elevator, head hung low, not daring to come over. Liu Ruyan watched this scene, her body growing increasingly rigid. I let go of him. He looked back at me, tears streaming down his face. "Chai Zuzhang, I know I have no right to ask you, but I was truly wrong." I smiled slightly and said, "You're right, you don't." He reached out as if to grab my sleeve, but his hand stopped midair, then slowly fell back down. I turned and walked into the meeting room to continue discussing the compensation. Before the door closed, I heard him crying in the hallway. His sobbing was muffled, broken and intermittent. I didn't look back. Ito Cheng's disciplinary action was escalated, forging signatures and using fraudulent documents, involving the fraud of relief funds. The school cooperated with the investigation, and the charity foundation sought to recover the funds. The hospital also submitted a formal situation report. His life didn't collapse in a single dramatic instant. Reality is not a stage play. Each charge was processed, and every piece of evidence was verified step by step. But for a person like Ito Cheng, this was enough. He was suspended from school, dealt with his debts, and entered civil litigation. His reputation was ruined across the campus. Shu Tingting sold the chat logs to a forum blogger, and then blocked him. On the day his aunt was discharged from the hospital, she slapped him in the face at the hospital entrance. I saw it while sitting in my car. She scolded, "You said the Liu family would give money. You said the Jai family wouldn't dare not to. Now the money is gone, and the house is being targeted by debt collectors. You've ruined me." The wound on Ito Cheng's forehead was still bandaged. He turned his face away from the slap. He didn't fight back. He just stood there, his eyes terrifyingly vacant. The debt collectors didn't resort to street-style violence. They just followed the legal procedure to freeze his accounts. They collected the legal debts. But Ito Cheng couldn't handle it. He used to rely on crying to get sympathy, and on kneeling to get resources. Now everyone was demanding him to sign papers to repay and take responsibility. This was more painful than a beating. When Liu Ruyan looked for me, I was in the middle of moving things out of the apartment. She stood at the door, holding a box in her hands. Inside were the bracelets, rings, and scarves I had given her, along with that wedding planning book she had thumbed through until it was worn out. "I'm returning these to you," she said. I took a glance and said, "Throw them away." Her fingertips trembled. "You don't even want to look at them. Are they dirty?" Her tears fell instantly. I walked past her to continue packing. She followed me in, her voice shaking. "Jai Boda, I have already filed for divorce from Ito Cheng. The marriage might be voided. It might not necessarily go through. The lawyer says we have to follow the divorce process. I will deal with everything cleanly." I put the books into a box and asked, "Why are you telling me this?" Her breathing became erratic. I want to start over. I stopped what I was doing and looked at her. Her eyes lit up for a moment, only to be quickly extinguished by my smile. Liu Ruyan, if you want to start over, go find your husband. Find your lawyers. Find a psychologist. Just don't come looking for me. The last bit of color drained from her face. I really just wanted to save him at the time. You saved him and sacrificed me as the offering. She shook her head. No. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. I picked up the wedding planning book, turned to the last page, and saw his handwriting. Jai Boda, please look after me for the rest of our lives. I looked at it for 2 seconds, tore it out, and threw it in the trash bin. Liu Ruyan lunged forward, wanting to pick it up. I pressed my hand onto the lid of the trash bin. She looked up at me, tears hanging from her chin. I said, don't pick it up. Your hands will get dirty. She knelt on the carpet, her shoulders shaking. A sob forced its way out of her throat. I walked around her and carried the last box out the door. When the elevator doors closed, she was still sitting there, clutching that box to her chest, her eyes fixed on the trash bin, like someone whose bones had been pulled out. I pressed the button for the first floor, the numbers counting down one by one. My heart felt no softness. There was only one thing that felt truly satisfying. She finally realized she was only capable of hurting others. On the day of the divorce hearing, I didn't plan on going. Liu Ruyan sent me many messages. I didn't reply to a single one. Finally, Chen Zi sent me a video. Outside the courthouse, Edo Cheng was wearing a wrinkled coat, the bandage on his forehead removed, leaving a shallow scar. He blocked Liu Ruyan's path, clutching a photocopy of their marriage certificate. He was crying so hard his features were bunched together. Ruyan, let's not get a divorce. I was wrong. I'll listen to everything you say from now on. Liu Ruyan stepped back, saying, move aside. My mother still needs money. I've dropped out of school now, and I can't find a good job. You cannot just abandon me. She looked at him and asked, why should I take care of you? Edo Cheng froze. I'm your husband. Liu Ruyan smiled, a smile uglier than crying. You finally remember that. The lawyer beside her gestured to security. Edo Cheng suddenly knelt down, hugging her legs. I don't want to pay compensation. I don't want to go to jail. I beg you, drop the charges. I'll pay back the relief money slowly. Please don't force me. Liu Ruyan looked down at him, her fingers clutching her bag strap tightly. I thought he was going to have another episode. In the video, she kicked his hands away. Edo Cheng, I saved you once, and nearly destroyed myself in the process. Her voice was hoarse, but steady. From now on, whether you live or die has nothing to do with me. Edo Cheng collapsed on the ground, muttering incoherently, calling her heartless, calling out for Jai Boda, lamenting his own bitter fate. Security dragged him away. His shoe fell off. The bottom of his sock rubbed against the ground, stained gray and black. He reached out to grab it. The dropped photocopy was stepped on, leaving a footprint. He grabbed it and pressed it against his chest, muttering, I am her husband. I am her husband. Chen Zi sent a message. This guy has completely lost his mind. I replied, he deserves it. That night, Liu Ruyan came to my new place. I don't know how she found the address. The doorbell rang 3 times. I opened the door, and she was standing outside. She didn't have an umbrella. Her hair was soaked through. Rainwater dripped down her chin. She said, Jai Boda, the divorce verdict is still pending, but the court has already accepted the case. I will compensate for your family's losses. I leaned against the door frame and asked, and then? He looked up and said, and then I wanted to apologize to you in person. Speak, he gripped his hands tightly and began. I'm sorry, I nodded to show I had heard him. I prepared to close the door. He hurriedly reached out to block the edge of the door. The door caught his fingers. He gasped in pain, but he didn't pull his hand back. Jai Boda, I truly know I was wrong. I looked down at his pale fingers. In the past, If he even scratched his skin, I would have driven halfway across the city to buy medicine. Now, I only feel that his presence at the door is an annoyance. I pulled the door open a little. Hope just began to flicker in his eyes. I picked up my phone. Right in front of him, I called property management. There is someone harassing the residents upstairs. Please come and handle it. He stiffened. Jai Boda. Must you be this ruthless? Ruyin, didn't you like talking about empathy? Go tell that to property management. His tears mixed with the rainwater as they fell. Have you never loved me? I looked at him. I thought about it earnestly. I had loved him, wanted to marry him, and had lowered my pride for him. But if I were to say those things out loud, it would only make him feel he could still hold on to something. So I said, I've forgotten. His whole body swayed. When the property management staff arrived, he was still standing at the door. His lips were pale. His fingers hung limply at his sides. The staff asked him to leave. He didn't make a scene. He only asked me before turning to leave, is this really the end for us? I said, no. He turned around abruptly. I smiled and finished the sentence. It ended a long time ago. The elevator doors closed. His face was slowly cut off from my sight. I closed the door, leaving only the sound of silence inside. A new cooperation contract lay on the coffee table. The Jai family had already found a new partner. The compensation plan for the Liu family had also been settled. My phone buzzed. Chen Zi sent the latest news about Edo Cheng. Because he refused to cooperate with the repayments, he has been placed under restrictions on high consumption. Shu Tingting sued him for failing to repay his debts. His disciplinary record from school followed his official file. After his aunt was discharged from the hospital, she returned to her hometown. She pushed all the debts onto him. In the video, he was sitting at the entrance of a rented room. His hair was a mess. In his hand, he clutched that tattered marriage certificate. He explained to anyone who passed by that he wasn't a swindler. No one stopped to listen. I turned off the video. The rain outside had stopped. The streetlights shone on the wet ground. It was blindingly bright. I replied to Chen Zi with 4 words. It looks quite nice. Then I cleared Liu Ruyin's number and Edo Cheng's number, and deleted all the old photos together. When the trash bin icon popped up, I clicked confirm. The screen became empty. I picked up my glass and took a sip. The ice water slid down my throat. It felt completely clean.